I think Sauce is going to throw Holyn in.
Hit my camera.
What's up?
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you've probably have been making the rounds, so we appreciate you taking the time out of your day and right before the Tour Championship to stop in and say what's up. First, congratulations. It was only, I feel like me and Yuli have talked a lot about like it was only a matter of time until you were going to take one down. And seeing your growth these last couple years has been really, really awesome to see. So first off, just want to say congratulations on the big win. And yeah, how's it feeling right now?
Oh, well, thanks so much. I appreciate that. It's been pretty good. It didn't really hit me maybe until like kind of Monday head into my practice round, just because everything felt so business as usual. And honestly, things happened so fast there at the end. Like I didn't even know I was in contention until maybe 20, 30 minutes before the whole thing was over. But it feels good to finally kind of get the monkey off the back.
Yeah, so I saw either in an interview or I saw somewhere a quote where you said that you didn't look at scores until you were on the 18th tee, and there was a massive backup. At one point, there was like 4 cards or something on 18 waiting to tee off. Do you think if you would have gotten to 18 and not had that big backup that you would have stuck out not knowing the scores that entire hole? Or like what was your strategy for not wanting to know where you were at?
Yeah, so I had been tempted to look pretty early on, like around 7 or 8, because I knew I was shooting really well. And the reason I didn't was because I knew either I was going to see that I was challenging for the lead and I was going to start to like feel a little nervous and maybe my like mindset would kind of start to change, or I was going to see that despite playing really, really well, I wasn't actually in contention. And I was going to feel some disappointment. And since like my mindset was in such a great spot, I didn't want to change anything. And like being that far back, like the answer is push, right? It's like I only look at scores if I needed the information for something. And at that point, the answer was going to be like, I have to keep trying to score. And then coming down 17, like there was a bit of an energy change. Like I could kind of tell going up into that, like the crowd was acting a little different. They were cheering a little louder than they normally would. They were cheering a little louder than they were for my card mates. So I kind of like started to feel nervous as though I was playing for the win. And at that point I was like, I'm already nervous. I may as well know what the situation is.
Yeah, makes sense. And, you know, going into the round, what did you feel like you needed to do? Was there a number in your head of like, I have to go out and just shoot the crazy lights out to even give a chance? Because like you said, you had, you know, it wasn't just Kristen in front of you. You had other players like Evelina and Henna who were playing really, really well that entire tournament. And so the idea that I think you mentioned earlier, like all 4 of them not playing great, the chances of that happening are slim. But did you feel like going into the round that something magical could happen?
I felt like I was kind of due for a double digits. It went through such a weird course where like the same player can shoot, you know, 10, 11 under and then go and shoot like even or even over par. But I felt like with where my game plan was that week, so often in the previous rounds, I'd been pretty close actually to shooting a really, really hot round. It just been like a couple feet here and there. So I kind of felt like 10, 11, 12 was super possible. As for like actually catching the leader, I had no reason to think that one of the 4 of them wouldn't do something similar, at least get like a 7 or an 8 down. So it was really surprising actually that all 4 of them kind of had, I won't call them bad rounds, like they were still good rounds, but they weren't like as hot as they.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the scores here, you know, if Evelina birdies hole 17 instead of taking a double, you know, she ends up basically winning it, right? So it's like there is it still was very close with how it turned out. And then obviously Kristen struggled on hole 8 when she took a double on that hole. So you're right in the fact of like no one really like blew up. They really just unfortunately each had a struggle hole. Ella struggled on hole 13, taking a triple on that hole. So, and you were able just to play pretty clean when you needed to throughout the entire round. How has it been? We're going to jump into obviously what went down on hole 18 and stuff, because I know, but I want to give you the opportunity of telling exactly what went down, because obviously there's tons of speculation. But how have you handled this so far? Have you seen comments? Have people been posting stuff on your Instagram? How has it been for you?
Largely, I've been kind of trying to stay away from it. I mean, I know like people are going to be unhappy with what happened, and maybe people don't fully understand what happened because I don't know what was actually shown on coverage or what was really talked about. But I know I've had a lot of time to think about it and to kind of reflect on the whole situation, how I handled it, and I really believe we handled it how we were supposed to per the rules and per what we were able to see. So from my perspective, I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I've just kind of been ignoring everything else because that's not going to be good for my mental kind of going into this last tournament. So largely I've been kind of staying out of it.
Gotcha. Okay, well let's break it down. For those that don't know, we'll show the video real quick of what we're talking about. This is hole 18 coming into the final hole of the tournament. You were first to tee. In this situation, you have the other card mates are like 30 to 40 feet right of you. So they're pretty tucked away. And your shot goes over OB the whole way. And as it's coming in, which it was going to hyzer inbounds, it clips a tree. You kind of lose sight of it. And then I'm just talking about what we see on coverage here. You lose sight of it. It kind of falls down through the tree. And all of a sudden it kind of pops out real quick. You get to see a couple frames of it fall down, hits the ground, and then goes OB. That's what we saw on coverage. Can you kind of walk us through you after you throw the tee shot, kind of what happens from there all the way to you, setting your lie up to where the disc ended up being?
Sure. Yeah. So actually from my perspective on the tee, I could see where it hit the ground. So lining up my shot, I'm thinking I want to make sure it's a committed shot. The only time I had rollaway problems in practice was when I kind of had too sharp of a hyzer. I left it too inside, and I would kind of catch the steeper earlier part of the hill. And so I'm trying to get it hard and flat out of the hand and kind of scoot it up the hill and give myself the easiest second shot that I can. Pulled it a couple feet wide, obviously. And like you said, it's stabling up, and I'm thinking if I miss those tree branches, I'm in. It may even stay in. And so I'm watching it very closely. It hits those branches, and I saw the spot from my perspective on the tee pad. I could actually see the part of the dirt where it hit, and to me, it looked like it hit where the line is. So to me, it looked in. And then I come off. Alexis goes, throws her shot, and then when Alexis come off, I asked her. I was like, "Hey, do you think mine hit in or not?" And she very confidently said, "Yeah, she thought it hit in." And so then as we're walking up, there's kind of further discussion. The marshal even stopped everybody and made sure to ask both Missy and Alexis directly what they saw, if they thought I hit in or if we needed to go back. And both of them were very confident that they saw it hit in. And then from there, we looked at where the disc was in the water. And, based on how it hit and rolled, we determined that that's the spot where I went was approximately probably where it hit. Which actually, if you go look at the line, like it follows the tree line kind of coming up the fairway, and then when that tree line ends, it does jut out towards the water and then kind of follow the water line a little bit wider. And where the disc was in the water, like it was at that wider part, so we had every reason to believe that it likely hit in just based off that. And then
Okay, so I have a couple questions. The first one being why was there no provisional? Because the way it sounded like is you talked to Alexis, who said, "I thought it was in," but didn't get a group consensus. And from all these stories I've heard too, it's been one thing that I've been interested on is I haven't heard anything about Ellie Ezra. Did she just not want to was she not watching, or because I also got the thing about the spotter or not the spotter, sorry, the marshal. The marshal, I saw the comment on Facebook. I also talked to Missy, and all those stories line up in the idea that the marshal went up as you guys were walking up. The marshal went to Alexis, asked her. The marshal then went to Missy and asked her. Ellie Ezra always is this kind of out of the story. So I'm curious, one, did she ever say anything? And then the second one, why wasn't there ever like a group discussion before leaving the tee pad of like, hey, should I throw a provisional first? Or why was it, why I guess was it just, you just asked one person and then walked up there?
Yeah, well, we walked up there. I asked Alexis, and like, that's two people, right? That's enough to get, because the way the rule is if it's 2 people, then the benefit goes to the player, and then I get to play there. So in my mind, like that was enough to call it. And honestly, it's not that far away. We have to wait anyway. It's not that big a deal for me to just grab a disc and go back and throw again. So that was my thinking there. As for Ellie, she had thrown her drive OB to the right and kind of just went straight to her disc. She didn't come in and discuss or anything. And honestly, with her being new, it's possible she didn't feel comfortable in that situation. But again, like if you got 3 out of 4 saying a disc landed in a spot, that's generally good enough.
Yeah, for those that don't know the rules on this is 801.03 on appeals. When a group cannot reach a majority decision, which in this case you actually did have a majority decision, regarding a ruling, the ruling is based on the interpretation that it is most beneficial to the thrower. So even if you got in a situation where 2 people were saying, I think you crossed up here, and the other 2 people saying, I don't think you crossed, if no one budges and goes to one side or the other, and that's where you end, as far as I'm interpreting this rule, where you place the disc would be a benefit to you. So in this scenario, it would not be a re-tee. It would be where you actually played your disc. Yuli, am I interpreting that rule correctly as well? Because that's an interesting rule that I think some people get right.
Let me jump in real quick. I think so. There's a couple things. I was watching it live, so I got to see exactly what happened on the camera, and then now getting the full story. The one thing that I feel like everybody needs to realize here is it's not only that the disc hits like what 3-4 inches out of bounds when you super slow-mo it with a camera.
Very close. Yeah,
it's very close. But that doesn't matter, because when the disc is up in the tree, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if it's moving to the right side or the one, and that bush hangs over the line so closely that you can't tell that if it did go over the line. It's not where the disc hits, it's the flight of the disc, right? So that's one thing. The next thing is this rule overpowers everything. This is the rules that we play by, is benefit goes to the player. That's a rule that supersedes even the spotter going up and being like, no, you hit right here. If the group can't see what the spotter sees, it's the group's call. That's the rule.
I gotta say though, like that is, we're gonna get to the spotter here in a second, but that is one of my biggest like things that I don't like right now is we have these spotters. I know it's the rule, Yuli, but we have these spotters, and I had to do it multiple times, and I see it all the time too, of where the spotter puts a flag somewhere, and then like the person fights for like 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. And I'm just like, man, we're 500 feet away, 400 feet away. There's a guy right there. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's weird having spotters sometimes, because I think some people use the spotters as like.
The spotter really, it's there to help you for sure. But when it comes down to is the spotter can do whatever he does, right? We're playing to the rules that we have to play by. So one of the things that has actually been very frustrating with this year is what I see is spotter says here, player says here, you get halfway. That's not in the rules. Like,
yeah, it's a weird one.
You should either go where the spotter says, or benefit goes to the player where the player thinks he went out. And that's not happening lately. It's like, oh no, I've played in multiple times or multiple groups this year where they're like, I'm saying no, I think I went out here. Spotter goes, yeah, I don't know, it was pretty close. And then they go, we'll give it like halfway then. And it's like, no, per the rules, I'm either out back here or I'm where I think I am. You get
That's
what
a good point.
Like,
so
there shouldn't be in the middle. Back to Holyn's situation. You don't know if it crossed or didn't. Therefore, you get it up there. And I believe that it doesn't matter what group it is in that situation for what happened. How can you send somebody back 300 and something feet if you're not sure, per the rule that supersedes everything? That's where I stand on the whole situation.
Yeah. The last thing I have on this, sorry, the dogs are getting a little frisky right now, but the last thing I have on this, Holyn, is was the spotter at all involved, because the spotters, the interesting thing I saw about the spotter, and they were doing this on hole 5, which is the water carry. They were doing this on hole 18 as well, and other holes where you would throw your disc OB, and regardless of where you are, I mean, hole 2, I threw my disc OB super far right, and the dude ran 200 feet to like put a flag where it ended up going out. So they were always doing the flag of where it last crossed in bounds, or where it was inbounds when it rolled out, whatever it may be. Was there any discussion on, hey, the spotter was in a pretty good spot, right? He's looking down the line 60 feet away, 40 feet away, whatever, up the hill. Was there any discussion to the spotter or anyone else saying he just gave you the red flag and didn't like run up and put a flag where you crossed? Was there any kind of thoughts on that?
So I don't think the spotter actually had a good vantage point of it, and I think that's why he stayed out of it. Because actually, with how sloped that fairway is and the way that those trees are, 60, 70 feet up the fairway, you can't see that line, because he was nowhere to be seen. He didn't come over and say anything. He offered absolutely nothing. He didn't say, no, it didn't cross out. He didn't say, yes, it crossed in. He pieced out, basically.
Okay, gotcha. Last thing on hole 18, after watching the coverage and stuff like that, what are your thoughts now? Because obviously, like, it's so easy for everyone to kind of play this, like, Monday quarterback or whatever you call it, looking at the footage and stuff. What are your thoughts now after having a few days to watch coverage and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't really gone back and watched the video, and I probably won't go watch it just because, like, what's the point? We called it the best way that we could at the time per the rules. I don't get the benefit, of getting to see the video. And that's a whole different discussion you could have of, like, should we try to use the new, the video technology to help us make these calls? And right now, no, because it's not fair. But we made the best call we could per the rules, and that's kind of it. Yeah.
Which actually leads me well into a question was sent in by Justin. He did ask, he said, should we have video replay, pros and cons of video replay? So you said it's not fair. So
it's just not fair to the other, because, like, the thing is, this situation happens all the time, right? It happens on, it happened on lead card, which is why it's getting all of this attention. But in reality, like, it happens on every card at multiple tournaments where, you've got discs that are riding the line of OB the entire way. Or, you can't tell because nobody would really had a good eye on it. And it's not really fair for a couple of cards to get the benefit of that technology or the detriment to it. Because in this instance, because we didn't know, it went to my benefit. Whereas if we had been able to, like, analyze it, it wouldn't have gone to my benefit. And then someone on an earlier card, the identical situation, would have gotten the benefit. So it's just not really fair across the board. But then the pro of that would be in these scenarios where it is the, higher money on the line or whatever, it's, I guess, technically more accurate. So, I mean, I think until it's fair for everybody, you can't have it.
Yeah. My only pro is, like, in a scenario like this, or another scenario similar, you can get the right call. That would be the pro. My big cons are, one, I think we all need to be playing under the same conditions. And obviously, yes, lead card and chase card, they play with a crowd, they play with cameras. So technically they are kind of playing a little bit under different conditions, but we're all playing by the same rules still. In this scenario, this rule would only exist for a certain amount of players and not everyone. So right then and there, I don't like that. Yeah. And the other con is, again, pace of play. I think disc golf needs to be faster. We need to get these rounds in 2 hours. We don't want people having to watch disc golf for 4. Let's just get them 2 hours. And now we're going into some random booth and having someone, up in wherever looking at footage and then radio. Now we're just adding in way more time. And I don't like it. Yuli, what are your thoughts on video replay?
Yeah, it's just not fair. We don't have the time. I think those are all great points. Maybe someday, if there's cameras on every single shot and we can then use it, then maybe yes, it would make sense. But right now, absolutely not. And just back to my point that I feel like everybody is missing it seems like the majority of people are missing with this whole thing is the rules are simple. Benefit goes to the player. That's a rule that we play by. Period. It's a rule that supersedes everything else. It protects the player. That's what it's there for. The player who throws that shot, not the field, that particular player. And in this case, it did. And so you just got to play by the rules. I've said that the whole time is everybody plays by the same rules. This is a rule that is in place that everybody uses, that everybody at some point in time has gotten the benefit of. Myself, Brody, Holyn before, we all have used this rule and gotten a benefit at one time. Just because it was on the last hole doesn't make a difference. Not to me.
All right, we're changing it up. Throw pink, another kind of big topic around this tournament is this is the only tournament that we both in MPO and FPO both play where it is a different distinction of level of tournament, right? MPO, we're playing it as a major. FPO, it's an A tier. Do you think throw pink should be a major?
I kind of think it should be a major because it's definitely not an A tier. The way we're treated, the way that we're paid, like it's such a weird thing that, you know, I've said this a couple of times now. It's like, it's such a weird thing that you have me and Kyle standing on the same stage. We just did the same tournament. We played 4 rounds at Winthrop against a stacked field that had to qualify to be there. And we played 4 rounds. We beat everybody. We're on this stage. We're signing the same autographs. And yet he's a major winner and I'm not. It's just kind of a weird juxtaposition. And I mean, I know the history of like why, you know, Throw Pink's only been there for 3 years and it originated in COVID because we couldn't have U.S. Women's. And on the flip side of that, like, I don't want to see U.S. Women's go away because I think that's a really special event in its own right to have that many women come together and play and to be able to interact with the other divisions. And I think it's been really great for growing the women's side of the game. So I don't really want to see that go away either. So
5
I don't
majors.
know. Yeah, I don't know if the solution's 5 majors or maybe call, you know, U.S. Women's an A tier for us, but it's a major for the rest of the divisions. Something like that maybe. But like I don't want to take that away from the people who worked so hard on U.S. Women's because they really did make it feel like a major this year. You know, there have been years past where I've gone and it wasn't run to the same standard as like a Champions Cup or a USDGC. And I feel like this year they really did a good job of that. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to 5 majors. Maybe it's a little weird having 5 for the women, but only 4 for the guys. Like, I don't really know how that would work out, but
They do that in golf right now. So I don't think,
yeah.
They stepped on one of the corgos. Yeah, they do that in golf right now. So I don't think that's a big thing of where the majors have to be. But do you think the FPO fields need to continue to increase? Like, do you want to see FPO fields that have 100+ players similar to the MPO fields?
I mean, yes, just because then the competition's better. And I think one of the reasons like MPO is so exciting to watch is because of how many good players there are. Whereas in the FPO, you know, you look a few years ago and it's like if 2 or 3 people are having an off weekend, it's just not exciting to watch. And honestly, this year with a lot of like silver events, it's like if there's like maybe 10, 12 players that if like none of them are there, it's just not exciting to watch. So I would like to see our field get bigger, but also just deeper and see the overall level kind of continue to rise.
Yeah, that was my only kind of concern with wanting Throw Pink. Oh, we might have lost her. All right, we're going to see if we should call back in. Hey, we had her for a while. Oh, are you back?
Hey, I'm back. My internet's been a little spotty like that, so sorry.
Now,
No audio.
Oh, really?
dude, what is this thumbs up thing on my thing? What is going on? What is going on? Dude, I think this new computer has weird stuff to where if I like, bro, this is my computer's out of control. Falling on Yuli's face. Okay. The question was, okay, so you want the fields to increase. And I think that makes sense, right? We all want to see a deeper field in FPO, not just like player wise, because you guys get that at some tournaments, of where I think throw pink is one of those where you have a bigger field. But I mean, you have people that are shooting, 30 shots off the lead after round 1. So we're not just wanting to throw anyone in there. But if FPO continues to grow and we're looking to try to have more and more fields or more and more people in the field, my only concern, and maybe they do it on different weeks, but my only concern is like you can't have 240 people play out there at USCGC. You can't do it. So that's where initially I was like, maybe it'd be best to have just MPO playing out there, and then you guys have your major that you guys just play. But that course is so great. It's like, could you do FPO the week before and then MPO? I don't know how that works with the university and whatnot, but that is something to think about. I don't know what the Disc Golf Pro Tour's thoughts are on this, but I'm assuming all FPO players want the field to continue to grow. The problem with that, though, is like you can't have now 200 plus people playing one course. You can't do it. So I don't know what that looks like for the tour moving forward. Just a thought out there. All right, let's break down a little bit of after your first shot on hole 18, because it gets really, really interesting really, really quickly. So you have an idea of what you need to do on 18. Did you have any clue Kristen's struggles with hole 18 when you were playing it?
No, honestly, I just assumed she was going to birdie. And so
Really?
at that point, I mean, I hadn't checked like her stats all week, really. I don't normally go check other people's stats too often. So really all I was trying to do was play the hole out kind of as normal, just with that penalty stroke. Because where my lie ended up being, it was obviously way worse than where I was trying to land. But generally my plan is, that forehand force into the side of the hill, chip a zone up to the corner just in front of the tree, and then just chip a backhand to kind of try to get it down there and look for a 4. And so I'm thinking, I can still try to get a 5 here. I have to throw the zone a lot harder, or I have to go up to something a little bit faster. Felt more comfortable just throwing the zone harder. And of course I ended up way off on the right side, almost going OB again, and then having to contend with this tree kind of in my way. And so I actually disced up to like a mid-range, because I'd been going kind of backhand zone to kind of scoot it down into the gap and just cut it a little bit too inside. And I find that kind of OB corner. And then honestly, once it was time to putt, it was kind of one of those easier putts, because like there's no, well, if you miss, it's fine. It's either you make it and you're continuing, or you miss it and it's over. So it's almost like that almost makes it easier in a way. And my putting had been great all day, so really no reason to think that I wouldn't sink the putt. And then after that, I just kind of was like, all right, Kristen's going to birdie that, and it's going to be a playoff. Like it wasn't a question in my mind that she would birdie.
Yeah, her history on that hole is actually pretty astonishing. The 6 times she had played the hole previously, she had played it at 7 over par. And her upshot, she's 5 of 6 throwing OB on her upshot. So that upshot is one she's really struggled with. But Kristen being Kristen, the one time that she's going to birdie it is the one time she needs to. And now you and her are headed over to hole 1. You're having to tell the MPO players that are ready to tee off, like, hold on, we're coming in here for a playoff. You have now the whole crowd has now swarmed behind hole 1's basket onto hole 17's kind of right side. So that shot's completely different now, because you're just like staring at a group of people. Both of you guys throw great shots. It was surprising that you went first on the putting, because it kind of looked like she was a little bit farther away. Did you guys talk about who went first there?
Honestly, we were both like, it's the same. I don't know. I don't haggle over inches when it comes to putting. I'm just like, if it looks the same and I'm ready to go. And then where I was, like, that downhill putt had been fire all weekend. I was like, I'll just put it in and put the pressure on her. Just pulled it. It was just a little bit too right. So I ended up hitting the right side cage. And then after that, I was kind of like, maybe, like, I don't think her putting's been as good today. And of course she missed that. And then I was glad that I got to go first on the island. Having done 2 different playoffs now on island holes, it's definitely better to go first. For
interesting.
Sure. Yeah, okay. I think so.
So was your plan there was like, I'm just putting it on the island? You weren't
Sort
trying to
of.
go.
I was trying to put it at about 30, 35 feet.
Okay.
So like a range that's, especially on a day like Sunday where I was putting really, really well, like that's a comfortable range. The one thing I didn't want to do is miss the island, because then it's super easy for her. She's got this big safe area over here. She can just check a hyzer. So like goal number 1, make the island. Goal number 2, put it in a range that's makeable. So I put it a little bit wider than I had in the round, landed it right at 30 feet. And then thinking, if I manage to do that, if she's outside of me, she has to go first. Maybe she makes it, maybe she doesn't. If she does, easy decision, you run it. And if she doesn't, then it's kind of like, okay, do I want to push this or try to end it here? Whereas if she lands inside of where I'm at, I know she's probably going to make that, so you have to run it anyway. So 30 feet was the goal.
Yeah, and it looked like she was trying to end it right then and there. It didn't look like she wanted to play hole 18. And, obviously with her struggles on that hole, it kind of makes sense of like, hey, let me just try to throw this inside of your disc. So you have to make the decision whether or not you have to throw it. She ends up turning it over a little bit. What did your heart skip a beat or so when your disc ended up hitting that pole and it's kind of like standing up a little bit on the layup?
Not really.
You weren't scared at all? Because
no,
man, watching that back,
enough.
I was like, oh my gosh.
The thing is, for like a second, but I don't know. I guess I've seen my disc do enough things that I was like, that's gonna sit right there. It's fine.
Okay.
So maybe like 0.1 of a second.
I saw that and I was like, oh man, that would have freaked me out. It would have been like, what the heck? All right, last thing before we get to go, we gotta squash all these conspiracy theories. Did you have any idea what the color of the trophy was before you won?
I had
Did you
no
see
idea.
it previously?
I'd never seen that trophy.
Okay.
Never seen it.
Initially,
And that was the first thing I said.
I
was like, it's my shirt.
When I saw the photo, I thought it was like a glass trophy. Like when the one that you're holding up in front of your shirt, when I first saw it, I was like, I think it's just a glass trophy. And I was like, I don't know what everyone's hoopla is. And then I saw the photo of you lifting it up above your head, and I was like, no, those are the same exact color designs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was you squash that. No conspiracy theory. She had no idea. It just ended up working out that way. But hey, that was absolutely awesome to watch you kind of just have your best round of the week on the one that mattered the most, and then be able to go toe to toe with Kristen in a playoff. I think the only other person that's really been able to kind of go toe to toe like that with Kristen down the wire has been like Sai Ananda at Texas State. It kind of seems like Kristen, when she's in a driver's seat or in a potential spot to win, she normally does. So you're able to take it down. How are you feeling going into the Tour Championship?
Pretty good. I mean, Nevin's going to play hard. I think shooting about even's going to be pretty good out there. So honestly, I'm trying to probably play a little bit more conservative. There's a few holes where, last year when I didn't make it to the finals, I think it was because I just took huge numbers and just a couple of spots in the middle and just could never recover. So really, I think the goal is going to be keep it pretty clean, try to take no worse than like a bogey here and there. And yeah, I think par golf might win it, actually. Par or like 3 or 4 under.
Okay, very nice. Do you have any pet peeves for us before we let you go? Anything maybe people what?
Like what players do, or like just in general?
It could be anything. It could be Instagram comments if you want to throw that out there. Of some people making some comments on
For
Instagram.
example,
Whatever you're feeling.
For example, my pet peeve is when I said, for example, my pet peeve, my new one is when you're trying to get benefit of the doubt and they give you halfway. My newest pet peeve, the halfway mark.
Okay.
Just send me back there or put me where I think I'm supposed to be.
Okay, I guess for playing, it would be when people like are completely unaware that it's their turn. I don't know if this happens in MPO, but this happens in FPO all the time, where it'll be like everyone can see everybody's disc and they're just standing there. Like, or worse if they've got headphones in, and then they'll kind of notice everyone looking at them and they'll be like, oh, do you want me to go? They're like, Yeah, bro, it's your turn.
This is not helping my pace of play. This is not making this makes my
No,
heart rate
dude.
raise when I hear this.
There are girls who've been on tour a while who do this, and it blows my mind. It's like,
You guys are the first ones
go.
out there. You guys are the first ones on the course. If you guys start backing it up, then we all are screwed for the rest of the day.
I'm trying, man. So if anyone ever asks me like, "Oh, is it me or you?" I just go. I'm tired of it. I don't wait for it.
All right, Yuli, ask your question. I'm going to throw the dogs upstairs real quick because they're freaking out with our neighbors.
All right,
Ask the question.
Holyn, out of all the players that you play with, give me somebody you look at their game and you're like, that's nice. Like I wish I could do that, or pick somebody's strength that you wish you had.
I mean, honestly, the person I've probably been trying to learn the most from this year has been Kristen. I feel like that's just like a cop-out answer because she's the best. But I feel like her biggest strength is she can break down a course into shots that are super easy for her. And like that's why even on days where she's not 100% on, she still shoots really, really well. And you know, her worst finish is like 5th or 7th or something. It's just because her decision making. She has like her core strengths and she sticks to them as much as possible. And I feel like, you know, when I first came on tour, you know, kind of getting hyped up as like a big arm or whatever, I felt like I always had to be the furthest drive, or I always had to play in a certain way. And something I've been trying to learn from her is like, now break the course down into what's your easiest shots. And then even if you're a little off, you'll still do really well on average over the 3 or 4 days.
Right. No, that's great. That's a great point. It's a good person to pick.
But I mean,
I'll
maybe
have to
maybe honorable.
I'll have to rewatch the episode to see who she picked.
Here, can I give an honorable mention?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all watched Eliezer play, but I've never seen anyone that explosive in our division. I think like she maybe even blows like Ella Page out of the water with just the explosive power she has. Like when she learns some golf and some different angles and different shot shapes, like holy crap, she's gonna be good.
Yeah, it'll be very impressive to see what she ends up doing, and maybe even bringing kind of the next generation of these young disc golfers in the FPO field. So it'd be fun to see. All right. Thank you so much, Holyn. We appreciate your 2023 Throw Pink champion, Holyn Handley. Check her out this week at the Tour Championship playing in Nevin on the Disc Golf Network. Thanks for stopping by, Holyn. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for